not do. Well, what about the law? Couldn't the law help a man to be right with God? Look at Romans chapter 7, beginning at verse number 7. The law that God instituted was only to help man see how sinful he really was. Romans 7:7, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Paul said, nay, no. I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law said, thou shalt not covet. That was the purpose of the law. The law was to help you see how wrong you were. But the law couldn't help you make the wrong right. It would just show you where you were and how you were. And in many cases, as Paul explains here, sin would take advantage of your knowledge of the law. Have you ever been doing something that you didn't know was wrong for you to do? And then you learn that what you've been doing is wrong. And you decided you no longer want to involve yourself in the thing that you've been doing that's wrong. And it seems like it didn't bother you as long as you didn't know that it was wrong. But just as sure as you come into the knowledge that is wrong, it seems like the desire toward the wrong intensified. And whereas it didn't bother you if you didn't do it, now because you know that you can't do it, it's burning a hole in your britches. Amen. I'm not just talking, I got a Bible for that. Paul says in verse 8, but sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought or worked in me all manner of conspicuous. Conspicuous is a lust or a desire towards something that I'm not supposed to have. I was comfortable when I didn't know I was supposed to have it. But once I learned I was supposed to have it, then sin took full advantage of the fact that he knew I was supposed to have it, and he stirred up more emotions in me after I learned I wasn't supposed to have it than he did when I had it and didn't know I wasn't supposed to have it. Sin took the occasion because of the law and caused you to have more desire toward that you know is wrong. The law was to raise your awareness of sin. And that's what the law of God is always meant to be. Even in the Garden of Eden, they could freely eat from every tree of the garden except for the one. Y'all hear what I'm saying? There was only one tree that they could not touch. Thousands of trees they could have their unlimited access to. Which one did they focus on? The one was supposed to have. As a child, I remember my daddy buying a new Cadillac. This Cadillac had them soft leather seats in the cab of the lag. And on the back of the seats were little pouches and pockets. And I had been getting in and out of that car for quite some time. Pouches never bothered me. Until one day, he said, don't ever look in that pouch. I had never thought about looking in that pouch until he once you realize what you cannot do, sin will take the opportunity and create a desire in you towards something that he knows you're not supposed to do. And so the law could only show you that you were wrong, but it couldn't help you get right. So how was God going to remedy the problem? How was God going to help man see that he needed a better way? What was God going to do in the scheme of things to help man get back in a position where he could have one-on-one communication with him? It was proven that animal sacrifices could not make a man right with God. It was shown that the keeping of the law was not adequate enough to make a man right with God. So therefore God allowed a measure of time to be fulfilled. Notice with me, as we travel back to the things that were written aforetime, that when we look how God dealt with his people, there was a longing, there was a desire for things to be made right. But God had his plan in motion. And it wasn't until that time was absolutely right that God would send the solution to man's ever-pervading problem. When you look at the book of Genesis, you see that the promise is made of the seed of the woman. When you look at the book of Exodus, you see them talking and understanding about a Passover lamb. When you look at the book of Leviticus, you see them erecting a high priest. But yet the time has not come yet. When you look at the book of Numbers, you see a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, leading the people of God. When you look at the book of Deuteronomy, you see a prophet like unto Moses. But the time has not come yet. By the time you get to Judges, you're looking at a series of judges and lawgivers. By the time you get to Ruth, you're looking at the promise of a kinsman redeemer. By the time you get to 1st and 2nd Samuel, you're looking at the promise of a trusted prophet. By the time you run through Kings and Chronicles, you're looking at a King of Kings and a Lord of Lords. But yet the time has not come yet. By the time you get to Ezra, you're looking at the rebuilding of the broken down walls of the lives of God's people. By the time you get to Esther, you discover that Mordecai is our providential provider. By the time you get to Job, you look at the promise of an ever-living Redeemer. But yet the time has not come yet. By the time you get to the Psalms, you hear about a shepherd. By the time you get to Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, you're witnessing the wisdom of the whole world. By the time you get to the Song of Solomon, you're looking at the lover and the bridegroom of the people. By the time you get to Isaiah, you see the promise of the Prince of Peace. By the time you get to Jeremiah, you're looking at a righteous branch. By the time you get to Lamentations, you're told about a weeping prophet. By the time